The leak that happened earlier this week. There have been protesters and demonstrators from both sides after the leak that indicated that they would likely overturn Roe versus Wade. Ken Rosenfeld joins us now. We talked to him about all kinds of cases coming up. But I'm glad you're here today because you are part of the Supreme Court bar that I shouldn't say a lot of, very few attorneys actually get to participate. And that means you can go before the Supreme Court.
Correct.
To take a case there.
Correct.
How hard is it to get in front of the Supreme Court?
You have to go through a screening process and you have to go through a separate ethics process. But at least when I did it, you also had to go through a course, if you will, of the secrecy of the Supreme Court and how things work. And when I went through it, we were told that even if you're arguing in front of the Supreme Court and if a justice kind of smiles at you or winks at you in any way, you can't even talk about that.
Really?
And you can't say anything that is an indication that there might be a favorable decision coming your way. That if you do, it violates the ethics of the Supreme Court, which have their own set of ethics.
And this is a court that is so unusual. We talk about just until the pandemic recently, there was no audio recordings of the proceedings. You couldn't bring cameras in there.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, the attorneys that went before that, you couldn't come outside and talk about it. I mean, it is so secretive is one way of putting it, but they are so by the book and so careful about what comes out. Talk to me about the opinions. You said something interesting. We were talking during commercial break. The draft opinion, they're investigating that.
Of course.
But this is interesting. There are some differences here.
Right. So what we were told when I went through, this is years ago.
Yeah.
But so when there's a draft opinion like what was leaked, there's about 30 copies of that go to clerks and go to justices. So what I was told is, at least then, they used to make every copy different. And what do I mean? Every copy would have a capital letter or a comma or a semicolon that was differently placed than the other copies. So if there was a leak, they would be able to identify whose copy was this and how did it come from it. So they had secrecy and protocols in line that would rival the FBI and rival the Secret Service. So they don't play games there. That's a very, very secretive, and this is a major leak and a major breach of protocol for them.
And a breach of trust and something that the justices, so when we hear the Chief Justice talk about we're going to investigate this, I think people sometimes say, oh, how are they going to find who leaked this?
Oh,
there
going to find it.
are a lot of ways that they can do this. And I find it fascinating. I mean, politics aside, the secrecy and the protocols around the Supreme Court, when we talk about how careful they are, when you go in, you can't come out and talk about anything that happens there. I mean, it is the restrictions that are placed upon people who go in that building are significant.
I mean, you could certainly talk about the argument and what was said, but if you try to give an indication that, something off the record or something that happened, it is a breach of the trust of your license as an attorney and your oath that you signed when you decided you want to practice in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. They take it very, very seriously, and it should be for a reason. But to me, that this thing was calculated, this leak was calculated. It was a weather balloon, in my opinion, to test to see how is the country going to react to this. It's one of the biggest decisions ever made. It's a polarizing issue. But we're not talking about the biggest decision ever made. Remember, this is a court that also had to decide against slavery. So it's been around a long time, and it's handled some very, very big decisions. But as far as this issue with our country right now, I really do think this was a weather balloon test to see what was going to be the initial reaction and how
it's blown up.
Polarizing is this going to be.
And it is. Ken Rosenfeld joining us now talking about the case. It's fascinating to hear the behind the scenes stuff of everything that goes on there. And interesting to see what happens with this. Ken, thank you so much.